Welcome back. My name is John. This is Sean, and this is Shoot the Shit number 5. Cue the music.
Is that how we do this?
Boom, boom, boom. So, Sean, we haven't done one of these in like a month now. What shit do we have to shoot?
I thought you had a list.
I have a couple things. It's a little bit different, just so you guys know. This, unlike usual, we're normally at a bar or a brewery, when we shoot these. We're in my basement now, so a little more private. This is probably going to be the best audio quality you ever get out of one of these, unless we do one at your house. So,
no, this would probably still be better.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
So, Shoot the Shit, this is just where we kind of talk some random shit. We're currently watching a football game that's going to halftime. I might be a little bit mad about it at the moment, so we're going to start taking questions. And they pretty much all come from Boober and Gabby at Podcast in the Woods. I'm going to work backwards. Sean, what was your best vacation that you've ever taken?
Ever?
It just says best vacation.
I am unprepared.
Yeah, while Sean thinks about it, I have one that comes to mind. It was only a one-day trip. Me and the missus, we went to Chicago to see the Misfits. We stayed in a little Airbnb in Boys Town, which was really fun. And learned that Chicago weed kind of sucks in comparison to some other states. Apparently, they were not allowed to up the dosage quite like you are in Michigan. So that was a fun trip for me recently. Went to Chicago and saw the Misfits.
I think for me, I had a week-long vacation with my extended family, and we went to Florida and stayed in some condos right on the Gulf of Mexico, like near Tampa. And that was cool because all the kids were kind of smaller and they could all kind of do their own thing and didn't bother me. I think one of the adults kind of sat with them by the pool, even though we were right by the ocean, and let them kind of do their thing, and we could just sit around and drink. That was a good vacation.
There's nothing wrong with a vacation where you can just sit around and drink
and not have to worry about what your kids are doing or whether they're off drowning on their own. It's usually
I don't have that problem, but, such is life. Controversial movie opinions. You got any?
I think we kind of talked about this a little bit in a text back and forth. I don't like most movies that are trying to be like a B movie from about early 2000s to present. Like for me, that sweet spot, and this might not be controversial at all, but that sweet spot is like late 70s to mid 90s. And I think a lot of it is that nowadays people try too hard. Like they don't try hard enough. There's no real barrier to entry now to make a movie. Whereas before you had to know somebody that could film, or maybe even if there was a video camera, you had to know somebody with a camera at the very least. Now, or about from the mid to early 2000s till present, cameras are so ubiquitous that it's not hard to get it. So people will slap anything together and put it out as a movie I don't know how many movies you've heard of or seen that are just like shitty CGI because they don't have somebody that can do good CGI.
I'm the one who likes Tubi.
Yeah, there's a lot of shit on Tubi that's like that. And not to say that it's Tubi's fault, but it's like if I'm going to watch a movie on Tubi that's like a shitty movie, I'm going to watch a movie from the time frame that I like rather than the low effort shit and not to say the old stuff's not low effort, but it feels like with a practical effect, someone had to sit and work on that thing for at least a little while to make it, even if it doesn't look convincing at all, it totally looks like a paper mache head that like explodes or whatever. Someone put the effort into doing that, whereas now it's like, they just fill a balloon and they put like a piece of toilet paper on it and they pop it and it's like, oh, it's somebody's head exploding. It's a totally different thing. That's my controversial opinion.
I don't disagree with you on that. I will say that some of those like shitty Tubi movies are more entertaining than others, but especially when you get into the effects and that part of it, like I'm way more likely to go back and watch a piece of shit from 1980 whatever multiple times than I am whatever thing I stumble onto Tubi that's also a piece of shit. Like I'll give it a try, but I'm usually like, all right, that sucked. I'll never watch that again and kind of move on.
Yeah.
I don't know if this would be considered controversial, but I'm really either annoyed and or disappointed that some of these subgenres in film that I like have just seemingly died, even though they're often inexpensive, relatively speaking, to make. Like I'm thinking the one-off comedy movies, the one-off action movies, the stuff like what guys like Schwarzenegger and Stallone and all those used to make their bread and butter on. Like, you never see a movie like I've talked about this one a million times, but like a Commando come out anymore. It's always got to be Commando 6, part of 2 trilogies or some shit like that. You never see like a movie like a Wayne's World or Billy Madison or something like that. Everything is so drawn out now and overproduced that it just takes all the charm out of some of those movies that I and you grew up, whether you like them or not. That's the type of shit that we grew up with, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Well, I think a lot of that too is that I don't know how many movies that we've talked about where I actually say, yeah, it's not a great movie, but technically everything looks fine. Yeah. And now it's just that they just do whatever and put it together. And I think for your point, it's more of like, well, it doesn't make money. Like, we have to make something that's going to be a franchise so it can make money. And franchises, you know, generally, not that most of the movies we watch aren't part of a franchise these days, but it'd be, like you said, it'd be nice if it could just be like a one-off thing. And you didn't have to sit till the end of the credits to see the stinger of whatever's going to be in the next movie and all that shit. I hate all the discussion around, well, was there a bonus scene in this movie? And what was it? And what did that mean? It's like,
I would love to get back to the days where I could get to the end of the movie and not have to, I mean, with all due respect to people who work their ass off to get their name in the credits, I don't really want to watch credits unless I have reason to think I might have to pay attention to the end of the movie. And I kind of hate that we've been trained to pay attention to the end of movies for that now.
Yes.
So
agreed.
Let's see. We have a couple others from them. I don't have an answer for this, but maybe you do.
Okay.
Amusing work anecdotes. I don't really have one.
Yeah, I don't think anything that I do is very funny at work. So I make my own fun at work, but I don't know if it's necessarily something I'd want to broadcast.
Okay.
Yep.
Have you ever met a celebrity or had any celebrity run-ins?
Yeah, I've met a couple of celebrities, but not anything where I met them out in the open. Like a company that John and I used to work for was a telecommunications company. It was a cable company. They would have celebrities come in from, like, maybe HBO would bring in somebody. I remember one time they had, who was that UFC guy? He won the first Ultimate Fighter, Forrest. I was going to say Forrest Whitaker, and I know that's the only Forrest I can think of, but that guy came in.
Forrest Whitaker as a UFC fighter could be pretty fucking intense.
Yeah, that would be pretty dangerous, maybe. I'm thinking Ghost Dog. One time we had Harold Perrineau come in.
I like him. He was in Oz. So he was on The Wire and
Matrix. He was in the original Matrix. He was in the second.
He was in the Matrix. He's in a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
So he's also one of those guys that, like, if you know who he is, you'll pick him out like that in everything that he's in. And if you don't, he's just generic guy in a bunch of movies.
So he came in and he was kind of standing around, and we would basically have this big long cattle call, like, line to line up and meet these celebrities. I think like Naomi Judd came in. I think George Foreman came in. Harold Perrineau came in, and I was there that day because generally I didn't work the days that the celebrities would come in. And we all got in a line, and I was like, what am I going to say to this guy? Get up to the front of the line, and all I could think of was, you were really good in the movie The Edge. And the movie The Edge, I don't know if you've seen it, but it's like the Alec Baldwin movie with Anthony Hopkins, and he gets killed by a bear. And that was like pretty much, he gets killed in the first.
How was that?
He was like, oh, thanks, man. I mean, he was really nice about it. He was really gracious about it. He was like, oh, thanks, man. I appreciate it. You know, and I had obviously, like you said, seen him in Oz, seen him in tons of stuff. I think he was in The Matrix by this point, maybe. It may have been, that sounds about the time frame. And that's the only thing I could think of to say, like, hey, you were great in The Edge. And he was like, oh, thanks. It was really nice, and he was really gracious about it. But afterwards, my friends that I worked with were like, oh, what did you say to him? And I told them, and they were like, you couldn't think of anything? Yeah, you couldn't think of anything better to say, like some other movie? What about this movie? What about that movie? I'm like, I just couldn't think of anything. It wasn't like being starstruck or being nervous to talk to him. It was just like, I couldn't think of anything else other than that.
So I'm going to take anyone that I've met at like a convention or anything like that where there's people there specifically for you to meet them. Have I told the Tom Savini story on the show at some point?
I don't know.
Okay, so I bet this is right before a comic convention. I stopped at a coffee shop, and lo and behold, the guy in front of me that was ordering a coffee was Tom Savini, and I was pretty happy about that. And I give myself a lot of credit for not like fanboy jerking off all over him. I just kind of I think politely said, like, hey, I'm a huge fan of your work. Like, thank you. And left it at that. And then saw him again later. He was fine. Like, I've heard a lot of people say he's a real prick when they've met him.
Yeah.
But
grate on you after a while, I'm sure.
Oh, I can only imagine. But the like short interaction I had with him was perfectly fine. And his, I don't know, assistant or whatever.
Yeah.
Seemed pretty cool. Yeah. Whatever she was. Probably his wife or something.
Yeah, maybe.
Let's see. I've met Bruce Campbell at a book signing because I bought his book, If Chins Could Kill. And this is when he was Bruce Campbell, like the Bruce Campbell you know now, but not nearly to the level, like comic book conventions weren't exactly the huge thing they are now.
Mm-hmm.
So it was still a little bit of like, you either know who this guy is or you kind of don't with him. And he was 100% just Bruce Campbell. Like the caricature you see of Bruce Campbell when he's talking out of character. And when I say out of character, I mean not Ash or Sam or whatever his other characters are Maniac Cop guy.
Yeah. Maniac Cop.
Whatever his name was in that.
Yeah.
He was just totally the same Bruce Campbell that you see when they put a microphone on and say, hey, plug IMDb or whatever, that's just him. So that was cool. Yeah. Past that, it's just been like sports figures. I don't think that's really who we pulled. I've met Darren McCarty a handful of times.
Whoa.
Yeah. I mean, he did deliver the Red Wings their first Stanley Cup in like 40 years. So
was he driving the truck that brought it?
He scored the game-winning goal.
Oh man,
so
that thing.
Yeah, it's pretty much all I can think of. So let's see, what other questions do we have? We did best vacation. We did celebrity meetings. All right, so we're gonna do one more beer question because we're talking about it, and then we'll wrap on this one.
Okay.
So this is off a report that U.S. beer drinkers are starting to kill the craft market because they're looking for value and health-conscious options. Thoughts?
What? U.S. beer drinkers are killing the craft market because they're looking for for savings and health-conscious products, essentially.
Yes.
I think that, not to get too deep into this, but I think we're seeing that now in like the places around here that are closing. Beer is getting too expensive. People don't want to spend $20 on a 4-pack, no matter how good it is, because craft beer drinkers
spend $20 on $30 right there.
Well, I don't know if anybody can even see that.
$30.
What is it? Is that like a Magnum bottle?
Yeah, something like that. It's very dusty.
And people aren't, they want to drink all these different beers. Like that's craft beer people. They want to go and try all these different beers. They want to go to all the different breweries. They want to try all the different beers from these places. But it's just becoming so expensive to do so. I mean, recently we had a place around here that was highly regarded that closed. Suddenly, I was telling somebody about this the other day.
We've shot several videos there.
Yeah, one of our
therapy
first shoot the shit video, I think, was at this brewery at Ascension Brewing. And they announced basically on a Thursday, hey, we're closing Sunday. And everybody was like, what? I mean, they don't have to answer as to why they're closing. And I think we can speculate, we can speculate all day as to why they're actually closing. But I just think they don't have that kind of disposable money to spend on beer. Like they might still have it to spend on booze. Like John's got a bunch of booze here. And, I'm sure that there's a bunch of money in this, but you also probably bought this a while ago. How long is this going to last you?
I mean,
is he just
committed to it? Probably a month.
Okay.
But I'm not committed to it.
If I buy 3 4-packs that are $20 each, that's $60. Yeah, you're going to have that gone in like a week. If you're really into it, you're a week. If you're going to have some buddies over, even with some buddies over, you're not going to kill this in a day.
Not if you want to live. I mean,
right.
This is 121 proof, so 60.5% ABV. If you kill that in a day, you might kill yourself.
Right.
So
the value to amount that you get is just, it doesn't equal out. And I don't think there's really anything that breweries can do to combat that. So now that we're off the wave, we're off the crest of like everybody saying, oh, I want to go out and try all these beers. It's a lot of been there, done that for a lot of these different beers and a lot of these different breweries. People are moving on to other things. Health conscious, sure. I think the age of liquor and beer drinker gets younger, the primary demographic or the demographic that people are going after, a lot of people they know about the downfalls of alcohol. We've talked about it and we've questioned it, you and I think on like, obviously our own conversations have been like, what do people see in non-alcoholic beer? Like, why would you drink beer to not get anything out of it other than the taste? well, I don't understand it, and you might understand a little bit better than me, but it's selling.
don't.
People are making money. Okay, well, people are making money on it.
Everything you just said, I 100% agree with. But I also think there's less motivation. Like, let's just take the price out of it, and let's take the calories and all that shit out of it. I don't feel like the reward is worth the time it takes to drive around and get all these beers. I mean, you can't see it here. There's a bunch of beer under this counter that's in there that I've collected over the years that I might not ever drink because I've, grown up or whatever.
And there's like an inch of dust on most of these cans.
Yeah,
right?
But the thing is, even with all these cans and bottles and stuff down here, they're all different, but they're not so radically different that it justifies 20 to 30 bucks a can or a bottle, a 30-minute to an hour drive, hopping back and forth across the state. Half the time when I do it, quite frankly, I'm calling you and be like, is there anything you want to make me justify this trip a little bit more than what I'm doing right now?
Sure.
It's just the amount of time and effort you have to put into it just to go get a beer. It's hitting a point where it's like, I feel like I could do something better with my time. Even if that something better is just like, I'd rather go to a tap room and just kind of hang out there for an hour and have the same beer over and over again. Yeah. I feel like I get more satisfaction out of that than chasing bottles, and maybe you get it, maybe you don't. Even when it's a really good beer, then you do find that beer that you're searching for. Is it so radically different than, I'm going to use Expedition Stout as an example, because at least here you can find that pretty much everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I could go to Traverse City. I could make a 2.5 hour drive and go find some special short beer or whatever and spend $50 on it. I highly doubt it's going to be radically better than what I can get for $15 for a 6-pack of Expedition Stout. So it kind of kills a lot of the excitement.
Well, that too, and people that you just want to get, sometimes, I know for me, I'm getting to the point where I just want a beer. I'm going to go to the corner store.
Yeah.
And I'm going to pick up what I want to get from there. And sometimes I don't want to drink a 12% beer, and I'm just going to go buy a 12-pack or a case of Miller Lite, or,
I do that all
Modelo or Pabst or something. I'm just going to go buy that instead. So,
well, there's a lot of it to be said too. I think you're in the same boat with me. Like, I want to have, tomorrow's Sunday. I want to have 6 beers throughout the end of the day and be cognitive at the end of the day. Like, if I'm doing that with Expedition Stout, I'm going to be in a world of pain by the end of the day in like 2 or 3 ways.
Yeah.
I can drink 6 Miller Lights over the course of a day and feel relatively fine. So,
true.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
That's what we got. So we're going to be drinking again later this week. You won't see this before then, so it doesn't really matter. Next time I'll remember to put some questions out and see if we can get some actual responses as to what we should talk about on this, or we'll try to make up a topic, something. Yeah.
We're currently at the halftime of a state rivalry game, so we're a little distracted. All right. So until next time.
Until next time, U of M. We'll see you soon. Cheers. I think
they don't want us. We don't want them to take our money away on YouTube, all the millions of dollars, because we swore on a video.
I think the last one of these got 12 views.
Yeah, very true. Yeah.
And I think they're going to know what you. If I say U of M,
I'm going to bleep it,
and you bleep it, yeah. I think they're going to know that I said U of M.
I think I'm going to bleep it then.
Kind of hope you
kind of like it. I like it. I like it being